My brothers and sisters, in today's gospel and in this particular parable, Jesus gives a profound warning, perhaps, some very austere advice about being church together, being church for one another. The 10 virgins represents you and me as the church. The being virgin represents a certain kind of discipline that we all have to have in being Christians, in being in living a particular lifestyle. The lamps represent the way we are equipped to carry out the disciplines of our lives as being disciples of Jesus Christ. And the oil that's within the lamp represents the grace that comes from God, something beyond us that we are sort of like vessels of, and that we carry around as we live our life in the world, and as we are then, with our lamps, reveal the light of Christ who is within us. So the more lamps there are, the brighter the church becomes. The brighter the lamps are, the more the world would be able to see the presence of Christ living in us, working to bring about more healing in the world. So that's the image of the church that Jesus presents to us in today's parable. Now, what happens in the church, or what happens in the church, and we all certainly are well aware of in our own individual lives, that there are these shocking events that kind of occur, that kind of throw us off our guard, kind of throws us off our paths for some time. It usually comes in the form of some kind of news or something that happens like all of a sudden. You just don't see it coming. These kinds of things could be like an unexpected death of a loved one in our families or even within our church. I don't know how many times just in this past month I've gotten such news from parishioners of ours who have suffered some unexpected shock like this. It could come in an unexpected news in terms of maybe some kind of attack or some kind of violence that had happened to us, some kind of invasion that all of a sudden happened to us, and we were all of a sudden somehow victimized, or someone that we loved, it happened to them. It could happen in a way of perhaps losing a job that we have had for so many years and felt sort of the dedication and the energy that we put into that, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore. All of us experience some kind of shock in our lives like that. The question is, as Christians, as church, how do we come out of the shock? Because that kind of traumatic event happens to all of us, and we all kind of respond in the kind of same way. We have to kind of like recoil, defend ourselves a little bit from the harshness of it, but eventually we have to come back out and live our lives. And it is in that coming back out and living our lives where Christ can be of most importance to us as a church and in our individual lives and in the church at large. For it's dependent upon how much oil that we carry in our lamps. That grace of God, that givenness of God's life, God's love that we carry in our lamps, that we carry in our lives, that enables to color the way we come out of these shocking situations that call us off guard. Do we come out with understanding? Do we come out with humility? We come out with a sense of yearning to be healed and acceptance of healing. If we have a lot of oil in the lamp, even though our emergence from this shock may be difficult, we may have difficult days, there is a path that we know we can follow, a path that we can trust, a path where we ultimately will know that we will have fulfillment. If there is not enough oil in our lamps, there can be other things that happen as we emerge. There can be bitterness. There can be desire for revenge. There could be a way of just closing ourselves off so much because the world just hurts too much for us to emerge. We may even lose our sight of God. So the amount of oil that we have in our lamps enables us to emerge from these shocking experiences, either with the trust and presence of Christ in our lives, or very little of it. And that's where Jesus paints the entire picture of the church. For my brothers and sisters, some of us in the church have got lots of oil. We come to Mass all the time. We have a prayer life. We've devoted ourselves to lifelong living, that we're always learning something new about Jesus, whether in Bible study or in some other aspect of learning about the church. We got a lot of oil in our lamps. On the other side, there may be some of us who may not have that much oil at all, and it's more difficult. There's a sense of maybe unworthiness, or a sense of, well, that's not for me. But Christ is for everybody. The oil is for everybody. What bothers me most about this parable, I don't know about you, but what bothers me about this parable is where the ones who have a lot of oil were not willing, perhaps for very good reasons, were not willing to share the oil with those who did not have the oil. Is that a way for a church to behave? Or is Jesus challenging us in this parable that there's a better way to be church together, where we look out for the welfare of one another, to make sure everybody has enough oil? Because the more oil there is, the more light there is. The more light there is, the more the presence of Christ is, both in our individual lives, in our parish life, and in the life of the church at large. You can think of this parable as one of those Capital One commercials, but it's not about wealth of finances, it's about wealth of grace. Capital Grace, what's in your lamp?